Thank you for joining us for CFP Board's Business Update webinar. I am Ed Moore, and I'm pleased to be the moderator for today's event. For those who don't know me, I'm the president of Edelman Financial Services, and just as a little background, I'm a CFP practitioner, and I was recently at a conference earlier this year, and wandering through the exhibit hall, I stumbled upon the CFP booth, and I noticed that they had ribbons there that they were giving out. They had ribbons for 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, and lo and behold, they had a yellow ribbon for me. It was for a 25-year ribbon that I was able to wear with me. So I've been a CFP professional since 1991. Within our firm, we tend to say that someone has a great deal of tenure. We don't necessarily say they're an old financial planner, but I could probably fall within that category. But anyway, today we've got a great time for you. We will hear updates from the latest Board of Directors meeting. We will take a look at CFP Board's overarching outcomes with the AGRA strategic plan focused on awareness, growth, recognition and regulation, and authority. We'll have an update on the DOL's fiduciary rulemaking. We'll get an update on the new Center for Financial Planning, and we'll also be addressing questions from the audience. But before we get started in today's presentation, let me cover a couple of housekeeping topics. First of all, if you run into issues with the audio for this presentation, or if it seems like the slides are out of sync, just try refreshing your webinar console. There is a Q&A function on your screen that you can use. You can use that to submit a question to us at any time during the program. Now, we've received many questions already in advance of the program, but we're going to try to address as many of your questions as we possibly can during the Q&A session at the end of the program. And if we don't get to your question today during the broadcast, the CFP Board will be following up with you to provide an answer to your question. We've got some distinguished guests joining me on the panel today, 3 of them, in fact. Mike Greene is the 2016 Chair of the Board of Directors. Blaine Aikin is the 2016 Chair-Elect of the Board of Directors, and Kevin Keller, CFP Board CEO. So thank you all for joining us today. We're broadcasting from the CFP Board's office in Washington, D.C. The Board of Directors today the Board of Directors has just wrapped up their latest meeting today. So Mike, could you share some updates about what happened in the meeting today?
Ed, thanks. That was a terrific introduction, and we did have a great few days together. First thing we did was welcome new board members, and I could not be more delighted with the new class. Phil Cunningham, Michael Davis, Susan John, and Arlene Pytranton. And you can check out their backgrounds on the website, but a tremendous new group of directors this year. We work very hard to make sure that the board represents a cross-section of our profession. We have folks from various different business models as well as experts, and I'm very pleased to make sure that we have public members remembering what our mission is to serve and protect the public. During this week's meeting, we discussed a number of different topics related to governance of CFP Board. We spent the majority of the beginning of the meeting looking at where we're at with overarching goals and really thinking about, do we need to make a correction, any kind of course correction in where we're at based on the current state of the financial planning profession and the industry overall. For those who follow CFP Board, you'll know that back in 2012, we adopted a set of 4 overarching themes that you talked about, Ed, and we like to call them AGRA. And for those of you who can see the screen, you'll see that we've got those outlined, and they're closely tied to the mission, but they help us really refine what we're focused on. And so from the top to the bottom, awareness. What we're really talking about there is awareness by the public of the CFP certification. However, we want to make sure that that's awareness within the industry, awareness with policymakers and other thought leaders. Growth. Well, growth relates to our core mission, and that's about growing the number of CFP professionals who are able to serve consumers who need our advice. Recognition and regulation. that really highlights the long-term goal of seeing financial planners and financial planning recognized as a true profession. And then, of course, authority. And that's another way for CFP Board to advance the mission to benefit the public by advancing the body of knowledge for the profession and building the profession's capacity. We have really ambitious goals in each of these areas, and we have been focusing on them since 2012 with intensity, and we think that they're well situated to serve us. However, we are taking a look to see if there are any refinements that we need to do. The reality is we've made significant achievements against all these areas. If you think about the public awareness campaign that highlights that first A that we talked about, we have, and it's astounding if you think about this, we have doubled the awareness of CFP certification among our target market of mass affluent initiators. It's a tremendous accomplishment. Growth. Now, since Kevin Keller joined the board, and we've had a long period of stability, and it's been terrific. Kevin joined us in 2007, and so we've had this very stable period of leadership. We have grown by more than a third. We have now just slightly under 74,000. Is that right, Kevin?
It's right, and we're planning for that 75,000th CFP, which we think we'll hit in June or July.
Which Kevin and I joke back and forth because he knows exactly how many CFP professionals we have out there at any time. We're working very, very hard to foster continued growth. And we have a number of initiatives underway where we're trying to encourage young professionals to attain their certification. We're working with firms to make sure that they institutionalize, if you will, the certification process as they think about bringing on new talent and develop that talent over time. Now, the third area, recognition and regulation, the R, if you will. CFP Board's advocacy is not alone. We are part of the Financial Planning Coalition with our partners, NAPFA and FPA, strong membership organizations that are crucial to those advocacy efforts. And what has happened as a result of working through the Financial Planning Coalition, we have raised our profile among policymakers, and they're now actively seeking out the counsel of the Financial Planning Coalition on important issues that affect the profession, and you're going to hear about one of those a little bit later on. And now for that final area, authority, CFP Board plays a very important role in developing our profession's body of knowledge. We do that by setting the curriculum for the CFP certification and the topics that are covered on the exam. And most of the folks on the call have taken the exam, the RCFP professionals, and they remember it's a significant emotional event for many of us who have taken that exam. And we do take that very, very seriously. And we've recently completed a job analysis that helps us think about how we evolve the items on the exam. We've accomplished a tremendous amount towards those 4 overarching goals. And the AGRA framework has kept us centered on that mission.
It's great to hear about all the work being accomplished towards these very important outcomes. They all support the CFP Board's work to uphold the standards of the CFP certification. Blaine, can you take a moment to share with us an update of the Board's review of the standards of professional conduct?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Ed. Well, really, the CFP Board's professional standards are at the core of the CFP certification. It's the standards that really differentiate the CFP certification from other financial services designations, and they really serve to instill trust and confidence among the public. Well, back in December, we announced the creation of a new commission on standards, and that commission is charged with reviewing and recommending proposed changes to key sections of the standards of professional conduct. So the commission will be looking specifically at all 4 parts of the standards, and so that includes the code of ethics, the rules of conduct, and the practice standards, in addition to the terminology and definitions that are used in each of those individual documents. So CFP Board conducts these periodic reviews of all of our requirements and standards related to the certification to make sure that they do remain strong and relevant in times of change. So if you think about when the last time we did this, back in 2007, May of 2007, we adopted a new version of the standards, the latest version, and they became effective in 2008. Well, even though it doesn't seem all that long ago, a lot has happened since then, so this review really is important. And we've assembled a really top-notch group of talent to serve on the commission. The commission is chaired by Ray Ferrara. He's our former board chair and is also a former chair of the Disciplinary and Ethics Commission. And he is serving as chair of the commission on standards overall. And I've had the pleasure of working closely with Ray during a rollout period here. In addition to Ray, we have a very qualified and diverse group on the commission, including CFP professionals, and it's important that we strive for diversity across the board here with the commission. So they represent various business models and compensation models, and truly a first-class operation whenever we pull this commission together. We also have individuals with regulatory experience. We know how important the regulatory issues are to the development of standards, and so we have rich representation there. In addition to a consumer advocate, and this is in keeping with what Mike referred to earlier, really our first and last touch point is always the mission of the organization, so it's important to have a consumer advocate and a public representative. So we have all of those on the commission, and while the commission hasn't met yet, they are well engaged and they're about to meet. So I think it's important to look at the process and recognize that the process itself is very important. The commission's work is taking place within a very well-defined and very intentionally deliberative process. I mentioned earlier about how it took several years in the last go-round of the commission. We're hopeful that it won't take multiple years this time around, but we do want to do it according to a very deliberative process. And that includes input from the profession and the public as being vital to the commission's work. So the process we've set out features opportunities for public input before the commission begins in developing recommendations, in addition to the public input before the board adopts any final changes to the standards. Well, we just wrapped up the last of some initial public meetings that the commission held around the country, and really this was a data gathering opportunity for us to prepare information that the commission will use in their work. So we've kind of dotted here on the map where we've been. It's been a whirlwind tour hitting 9 cities, and we really appreciate everyone who came out and shared their thoughts with us. What we found was that very well-attended sessions, very diverse audience representing wide cross-section of financial services and others, and they gave us a tremendous opportunity to hear varying points of view. So the commission itself will be holding its first meeting later this month to begin the work of developing the actual recommendations. We won't know much to share about the commission's work for the next several months. As I say, this took quite a while before. We've, I think, set up through the work of Leo Rajeski, the general counsel in particular, has set up just an amazing process to usher the commission's work through. But we do look forward to sharing updates on the review of the standards periodically. First one coming in a few months, though.
Blaine, thanks. That's a great update. During the last review of the CFP Board Standards of Professional Conduct, focused a lot of attention on the fiduciary standard, as we know. That continues to be a major topic of discussion in the industry for all of us. Blaine, can you share an update on the status of DOL's work on updating the fiduciary standard?
Sure. Again, I'd be happy to, Ed. This has occupied, I'm sure, a lot of our listeners' time and attention. It certainly occupied a lot of the board's attention, and it's a momentous situation for everyone in financial services. So when we look at the work of CFP Board here, our work in this is connected to our long-term goal for the recognition and regulation of financial planners, which is a goal that we share with our partners in the Financial Planning Coalition, as Mike said, working closely with the FPA and NAPFA as just really powerhouse membership organizations that are a pleasure to be working with. So A lot of the Coalition's energy this past year has been focused on our continuing advocacy and support of the delivery of financial advice under a fiduciary standard. So last July, we did file a joint comment letter with the FPA and NAPFA voicing strong support for the Department of Labor's reproposed rule to amend the definition of fiduciary advice under ERISA. But we also suggested proposed changes that would streamline the rule and make it more operational across all the business models. Well, then in August, representatives from the Coalition provided testimony in support of the reproposed rule, and that was during hearings held by the DOL. Then in September, the Coalition filed a supplemental comment letter with the DOL addressing some issues that were raised in the comments and again, urging that the DOL move forward with the fiduciary rulemaking with, again, some proposed changes that we think were practically necessary. The DOL has certainly received a lot of feedback from the industry during the two public comment periods during the rulemaking process. And if we look at where we are right now, at the end of January, the DOL sent a reproposed rule to the Office of Management and Budget. And while there is no definitive timeline, we actually expect to see the final rule very soon. That could be in mid to late March or perhaps into early April. Now, nobody gets to see the language of the rule that the DOL has sent to OMB until it actually comes out. We do think that it's going to be substantially similar to what was there before. And after the final rule is published this spring, it is likely to be challenged in a number of ways, even with changes. There's certainly been a number of people and organizations who have expressed strong opposition, and I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. We'll hear from the opposition as well. We're not going to make any kind of conjecture about what's actually in the final rule, and so we won't stake out any positions on a final rule that we haven't even seen. But given the DOL's actions and statements throughout the process, as I mentioned, we do expect the final rule will address many of the issues that were raised about the reproposed rule. We'll see the changes, but we'll probably see the substance, the core obligations associated with the rule remain much the same. So CFP Board and the Financial Planning Coalition have expressed strong support for the DOL's proposed rule, given the many ways it will benefit and protect American saving for retirement. Again, we always go back to the mission and service to the public. So we also provided those recommendations on a number of issues in the DOL's proposals. So among the things that we expressed concerns about were some proposed changes that included changes that would facilitate compliance across different business models, changes that would streamline some of the disclosures and reporting obligations. We also indicated some concern about the proposed implementation timeline. It certainly seemed short, and we recommended an extension, albeit a relatively modest one, in the implementation date and additional time for full enforcement of the new provisions to take place. It will be certainly a time of major change with the rule, and changes and extra time will be necessary. But we look forward to sharing more updates as things progress with the DOL's rulemaking. And as I say, they're progressing pretty quickly. We should hear more soon.
It shall be soon. Blaine, thanks. That's a great summary. Let's switch gears. Kevin, would you please share with us an update on CFP Board's work to increase the public's awareness of the CFP certification?
Absolutely, Ed, and thank you. It's good to have you here in our offices. We are happy to have our public awareness campaign advertising back on national cable television for our spring run. The goal of the campaign, and we keep emphasizing this, is to increase the awareness of CFP professionals, and we do that by using a coordinated mix of both paid advertising, that's what you see as you're watching MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, etc., as well as what we call the earned media activities of CFP Board that are focused on our custom target audience, which we call, as Mike referred to earlier, the mass affluent initiator. The campaign's primary goal is to increase awareness of CFP professionals with related related objectives of increasing the public's preference for and intent to use a CFP professional. The campaign began in 2011, and as we start the sixth year, we again remain very pleased with the progress we've had to date. The campaign includes a mix of advertising that has appeared on national cable television, in print publications, online, and national radio. In 2014, the campaign introduced the new DJ TV ad, as well as radio sponsorship messages on NPR. Since we launched the DJ ad, we've really seen a strong increase in awareness. Our latest, or rather the last, brand tracking study was conducted in the spring of 2015. And this is something that the Board of Directors focuses very, very closely on, because we have an independent brand tracking organization not affiliated with CFP Board or not affiliated with the advertising agency, that each year at the same time, using the same methodology and the same sample for pulling a survey sample, conducts this survey. What it shows, and again, that we have doubled the unaided awareness among our target audience since the start. In fact, unaided awareness jumped 4 percentage points between 2014 and 2015. The study also found that awareness of CFP certification is 2 to 3 times higher than other certification designations. We are steadily closing the gap between awareness of CFP certification and awareness of the CPA designation, or at least CPA as a provider of financial planning services. In addition, we have increased awareness of the CFP certification brand among all consumers. We're seeing these significant increases, I think, in ways that relate to positive attitudes about what CFP certification means. Some of the other brand attributes that we've seen increases, we track these as well: familiarity, uniqueness, likelihood to recommend a CFP professional to a friend, and quality.
Kevin, what changes are in store for 2016?
Well, the team is always looking at the campaign results and making adjustments. The approach for 2016 continues to use a mix of integrated and coordinated paid and earned media. And that's worked well for us, and we're always tweaking that. We'll continue to concentrate our advertising during the spring tax season, when we think finances are of top of mind of most Americans. The DJ ad is the central part of the advertising plan. And again, we continue to support that with both online and radio advertising. And that's in addition to both the public relations work we do and the social media efforts. Our plans this year to build the message of the highest standard, to support that message rather, with a slightly a message that certified equals qualified. To help us move the needle beyond awareness and toward consumer preference and intent to use, we'll be highlighting the Find a CFP Professional tool even more prominently than we have in the past. The campaign's media strategy, as you see here, is updated annually based on what has performed well and where we think we can most efficiently reach our target audience. The plan includes placements across TV, radio, and online. The DJ ad, perhaps you've seen it, is running on national cable networks like MSNBC, Fox, National Geographic, and we have a heavy lineup on the Golf Channel as well that has worked well for us. For radio, we'll have ads on ESPN Radio for the fans of Mike and Mike in the Morning, as well as on NPR. The online placements include online banner ads and online videos on sites where people get finance, sports, and other news. We have a brand new set of online ads for 2016. Here are some still shots from one of the online videos. This one is entitled The Exterminator. It shows an exterminator wearing his protective suit and safety mask, and you hear him whistling while he moves the spray nozzle around. He's actually spraying the counter in the kitchen. He opens the refrigerator door and sprays food there. The caption during this ad reads, "Uncertified exterminator, don't make the same mistake with your finance. CFP, find a certified financial planner pro, letsmakeaplan.org." We have other videos that take a similar approach to emphasizing the importance of certification, including videos portraying an uncertified anesthesiologist and a personal trainer. Here are some of the stills from a banner ad that we're calling Don't Do It Yourself. It shows the ceiling of a room and suddenly a foot crashes through. The copy reads, "Sometimes you shouldn't do it yourself. For financial planning, work with a certified financial planning professional." Under that, there is a Find a CFP Pro line with a form to enter a zip code, which will take people to a list of CFP professionals on our letsmakeaplan.org website. And at the end is the tagline, "Work with the highest standard CFP." We'll have several online banners as well as online videos that present the Don't Do It Yourself theme in different contexts. Clicking on any of the banner ads or any of the online videos takes you to our consumer website, letsmakeaplan.org, which we've recently revamped. Here you see the new homepage of the website, which has a more graphic and modern feel. The site has been fully revamped. Access to the Find a CFP Professional tool is much more prominently placed, and the content of the site has been customized and organized by life stage. At the bottom of the image here, you see buttons for 5 stages of life, including starting out, settling down, entering midlife, near retirement, and enjoying retirement. The site will be updated weekly with new posts each Wednesday from CFP Board's consumer advocate and our team of CFP Board ambassadors. If you haven't taken a look, I'd encourage you to spend a few minutes on the new site, and I'll also encourage you to check out all of the new advertising and information on the campaign. You can see that new advertising and the new online banner ads on our website, www.cfp.net/public awareness. During the times the TV ad is running, now through April 10th, you'll find weekly TV programming schedules listing the channels, programs, and times when the ad is expected to run. You'll also find more information about the latest brand tracking study demonstrating the campaign's success to date. The next brand tracking study will be in the field this spring, and we look forward to sharing the results with you once that research is complete.
Kevin, thanks for that update. It's amazing the amount of work that the CFP Board is doing on our behalf from an awareness standpoint. So CFP Board recently launched the Center for Financial Planning to generate progress in many other areas with a focus on advancing the profession. Mike Greene, can you tell us more about the new center and share what's happened since it was announced last fall?
I'm absolutely going to, Ed. Before we leave that last topic, I just want to come back to a point you made, Ed, that we take very, very seriously the responsibility we have with the funds that certificates send into CFP Board. And this public awareness campaign is a significant amount of money from our CFP professionals. Kevin, we all know about the television advertising, and thank you to the board and the staff for making that possible. For the professional who's out there paying those fees and wants to take advantage of the campaign at a local level on their own, how do they do that? If we could, I'm seeing on the screen here for professionals and what they can do. Can you just give us some really clear instruction about how the professional takes advantage of this?
Absolutely. All of the assets of the campaign are available to CFP professionals. And so it's a very easy website, and I'm looking to our friends here. It's cfp.net/toolkit. Do I have that right? I want to make sure we have that right. cfp.net/toolkit. All of the assets are available. Now, obviously, you'll want to check with your compliance folks. But if you want to use the DJ ad, or if you want to use, it's all on YouTube. And that's the easiest way to go and access the assets of the campaign.
I just think that's fantastic. So not only do we have the air cover from CFP Board happening, then locally, 74,000 CFP professionals can take advantage of that as long as they do the right things and make sure that they're doing it in a compliant way.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you, Ed. I apologize for that,
no problem.
But I just wanted to get that out there because I think it's incredibly important that people know how to take advantage of that. Now, you asked me about the center. I remember not that long ago, and Blaine, you were in the room, when Kevin and his team came to the board and they said, we have an idea. We have this idea for a new center for financial planning. It could be a place that takes advantage of CFP Board's unique position in the industry. It could be a place where we could create an academic home. It could be a place where we could focus on building the supply of talent into the profession. It could be a place where we could build the diversity of the profession. And I've never seen an idea come into the boardroom where we captured the imagination of the board so quickly. Now, none of us knew what it would look like exactly then, and since then, many iterations of working with different partners and within the staff, we've gotten to this spot. But I remember that day, and Kevin, I can't believe that it's live as it is now. So here's the reality. The need for advice for the American public has never been greater. We are all well aware of the boomers transitioning into retirement. We've heard 10,000 a day ad nauseum for the last decade, right? We all know that. But at the exact same time, the Cerulli data tells us that the number of financial services professionals is decreasing. So notwithstanding that Kevin and team are helping us grow the number of certificates, the overall number of professionals out there is shrinking. This is an accelerating phenomenon for us, and it's going to pose a real difficulty for the profession and, more importantly, for the American public. So CFP Board, using the center, has taken steps to address this. And it's through the Career Center, very, very successful initial initiative, and our Women's Initiative, of which I'm extremely proud of the initial research and findings that the Women's Initiative has had. However, we must do more. We really must do more if we're going to fulfill our mission to benefit the public. And it's through the center that we can do that. We do that by helping create a more diverse and sustainable supply of professionals, and by creating an academic home so that we can build the body of knowledge. And here, this is important. I would really like to recognize our lead and founding sponsor, TD Ameritrade Institutional, with a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contribution that turned that incredible idea that sparked our imagination into reality. Okay, so Ed, if you'll indulge me for just a second, because you can tell I'm really excited about this, I'd just like to talk a little bit more about that mission. So we've identified 3 main focus areas. There's workforce development, diversity, and this academic home. So workforce development. This is about attracting and developing the next generation of financial planning professionals that have the knowledge and skills, and we hear this phrase all the time, that are competent and ethical. Those are incredibly important words, both to act in the best interest and to know what you're doing. That's the definition of fiduciary. Now, diversity. Okay, we talked about this on the last update. The fact is we have a lack of gender and racial diversity within the planning profession. We can do something to change that because the needs of the American consumer, they're changing as well. And finally, the academic home, and this is one that I'm very, very excited about. In order to fuel the growth and elevate the talent that we have in the pipeline from both the existing registered programs as well as what top colleges and universities can offer, we're going to accomplish this by creating an academic home where faculty from the profession and other disciplines, that they can have peer-reviewed research, that they have unique opportunities to partner and advance the profession. And as we elevate that, we create more and more places for new talent to enter the profession. So the center is developing programs in each of these areas. We're going to conduct research that affect the profession and serve as a resource for educators, for practitioners, us who are out there doing it, researchers, of course, the firms, and always and most importantly, the public. So we've done a lot of work over the last few years to turn that idea into reality. And in January, I'm really excited that we announced the center's very first executive director, my friend, Marilyn Mormon-Gillis, who's here with us today. She has been working with CFP Board since 2008 as the managing director for public policy and communications. And we've all benefited from her tremendous work, from her and her team. She's been involved with the center from the beginning and now is the lead. Now we've got, of course, CFP Board's own Dr. Charles Chafin, and he's on the leadership team as well as the director of the academic home. So he's transitioning out of his role as the CFP Board's director of academic programs and initiatives and transitioning into the center to help lead that initiative for us. So in addition to the staff leadership, the center's work is going to benefit from a large volunteer council, just like CFP Board benefits from all the various councils and commissions that we have. We rely on our professionals and all of those other allied folks in the public to help us get our work done. So you can tell from my voice that I'm very excited about what this is going to do for the profession. And for those who are interested, and I'm sure many will be, because you'd like to participate and you'd like to give, of course we have a capital campaign out there. It's titled Building a 21st Century Financial Planner Workforce. Now back in January, not that long ago, it's really just a few weeks ago now, we held a design summit. And this was really an extraordinary event. We brought together 42 thought leaders. These are luminaries from all across the profession to discuss where we thought the strategic direction could go. We want the center to be a place where so many different groups can come together and use that unique position of CFP Board to move forward. So these participants, we're talking about executives from major firms as well as from independent advisory firms. We're talking about academic leaders, researchers, CFP professionals who are out there doing the deal with clients every day, representative of other associations outside our industry, so the National Urban League, the National Council of La Raza. We're talking about a very diverse group of people that got together. So the input from those discussions is now being used to put together a programmatic timeline, and I know Marilyn's team will use that to help lay out a plan for us as we move forward. They touched a broad range of different ideas as they went through, and because of that, we're able to set up where we're headed. So expect this spring to be able to see that plan as we move forward. So I'd encourage everybody on the call or on the WebEx to head out to centerforfinancialplanning.org. You can see it for those on the WebEx right there on the bottom if you want to learn more about that.
That's great. I've had a number of discussions with CFP Board about the new center, and it's a great and timely initiative. It's fascinating to see the kernel of an idea turn into something so tangible that will be so meaningful for the entire financial planning community for years and years to come. So we've covered a lot of material this afternoon. So Blaine, Mike, Kevin, thank you very much. We're going to turn the program over to questions. If you've got a question, feel free, as I said earlier, on the WebEx, you've got the opportunity to click the button and write your question. If we get to it this afternoon, great. We're going to be going for about another 15 minutes. If we get to your question in the next few minutes, super. If not, CFP Board will be responding to your question. So I'm going to start off. We've got Andrew, who writes in the following. I do not support the fiduciary rule, and I'm frustrated that the CFP Board does. It's going to add tons of cost and regulation to an already confusing industry. The value of us being CFP professionals is that we are different. We will not be if everyone has to be a fiduciary. Yes, we can say it stands for our extra knowledge, but not our fiduciary capacity, as all will have to be this now. A fiduciary rule is a good thing, but not the one the DOL is pushing through. I think the DOL rule hurts CFP professionals more than it helps it. Blaine, can you address that for us?
Sure. I think it's safe to say that everyone knows that the DOL rule has been a contentious topic, and we certainly understand and can appreciate the concerns about the rule. And in our comment letter, we did outline a number of proposed changes and clarifications that would make the rule more workable and less costly. We do believe that the DOL is going to take our comments and others into consideration as it prepares the new rule. But at the same time, I think it's important to recognize that there is a lot of misinformation about the potential impact of the rule, and particularly with respect to advisors like those who are CFP professionals who are already obligated to adhere to a fiduciary standard of care when they are providing financial planning. So as we noted in our comment letter, the obligations under the best interest contract exemption are really very similar in some respects to those that are applicable to CFP professionals under our standards of professional conduct. So, for example, our standards require that when CFP professionals, when they are providing financial planning, they have to have a written agreement or a written contract in place that covers some of the very same things that the BIC exemption does. You have to have an accurate and understandable disclosure of information relating to costs and fees. You have to have you have to exercise reasonable and professional judgment. You're required to provide services with integrity and objectivity. So really there are some fairly strong similarities here. So CFP professionals and other advisors who are making these disclosures now, they are using established compliance practices that are out there, and that they're very similar to the requirements that are expected to apply in the future. Key here is that really whenever you think about the CFP boards and the coalition's efforts to promote a fiduciary standard across the board as professionals who are serving the public and whose obligation it is to serve the public, we felt it was very important to support the DOL's efforts.
And it sounds like we won't have to wait very long.
That's right. We'll see more.
As it sounds, we'll know within a couple of weeks.
That's right.
Next question. John writes, the awareness campaign featuring a DJ in disguise is demeaning to the entire industry and should stop. While your intentions are understandable, the end result is to lump CFP professionals with the rest of the herd. The strategy has backfired. Please stop making a mockery of our industry and position CFPs as serious problem solvers. You don't see the legal or medical industry using this tactic. It's embarrassing. So we should ask John what he really thinks about the campaign. Mike?
Sure, I'll take this one. And so, John, first, thanks for taking the time to write in. The reality is we would hope that all CFP professionals would love the campaign creative. But the fact is we recognize that just like the previous question, there are a variety of opinions. And truly, we appreciate hearing your opinion on this. So the message of the DJ ad is really intended to be pretty simple. You can't judge a book by its cover, so make sure you look for a CFP mark to ensure that you're working with the highest standard. In advertising, the most important question is really whether consumers are getting the message. And as we shared earlier today, our consumer research shows very, very clearly that consumers are getting that message. Awareness among our target market has doubled since the campaign. Remember that 17 to 34. And since we introduced the DJ ad, it's increased a full 10 percentage points.
We have another question related to the DOL fiduciary rulemaking. Surprise, surprise. David asks, What, if any, impact will the rules have on utilizing annuities and their living benefits in IRAs? Any impact regarding the annuities for non-qualified dollars? Blaine, do you want to continue your role on the DOL?
On the DOL side, yes. Well, in fact, advisors will still be able to make recommendations on using annuity products in IRAs. And the advisors may receive the commission-based compensation for recommendations on annuity products. Recommendations in particular on securities-based annuities will fall under that proposed best interest contract exemption. So, and that BIC, as we call it, the BIC exemption requires that the advisor must have a written contract stating that the advisor will provide advice in the best interest of the client, and that the advisor has policies and procedures in place that will serve to mitigate those conflicts of interest. And then any additional compensation that can be based on objective factors. So regarding annuity products, additional compensation, for example, could be based on such factors as additional time that it may take to explain the more complex products that they're offering to the investor or that they're recommending to the investor. But recommendations that are related to non-security annuities would be covered by what is known as the 8424 exemption. That's an existing exemption that does stay in place, but it is modified under the rule. It requires, contains some requirements that are similar to the BIC exemption, but with some reduced disclosure requirements. So this distinction may change in the proposed rule if it's expected that the DOL does in fact streamline the disclosure requirements, which there's probably a pretty good chance that they will make this a good bit easier. And then final thing I would say that with respect to non-retirement assets, the DOL rule will in fact affect annuities that are outside of an IRA if the person's retirement assets are in fact rolled over directly into that annuity. So these are still in play. They just have a little bit tighter standards.
Thank you, Blaine. Kevin, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and hit you with this question. Dennis writes, as a WIN advocate and having paid attention at different national conferences where overall numbers are stubbornly low for women and minorities in the profession of financial planning, you have updated numbers that CFP Board is seeing in terms of successfully recruiting, training, and hiring of women and minorities at firms across the nation. Any movement on advisor numbers, any movement on firm ownership numbers?
Well, Dennis, first of all, thank you for being a WIN advocate. You're one of 300 WIN advocates. These are professionals volunteering to support the growth of women in financial planning. Dennis, really, you've identified the issue, the real reason we created the Center for Financial Planning, because this has been a stubborn, ongoing problem, and it's one that we realize that we can't solve alone. This issue, the issue of diversity of gender and diversity of racial makeup, is bigger than any one organization. And so that's why, Ed, you were there, Blaine was there for the Design Summit. We brought together 42 industry luminaries to address this issue. Now, the number of women has been flat for more than a decade at 23%. There is some good news, though, that Cerulli says that approximately 28% of the rookie advisors are female, and women make up 32% of FPA's next-gen community for FPA members 36 and under. So those are good signs, but the issue, it is a stubborn problem, and it is one that we don't pretend that we can resolve alone. It's one that we're going to have to work together on across both the professionals, CFP professionals, firms, the academic community, the industry at large, and the professional associations that support the growth of CFP.
Thank you, Kevin. Next question. Kara writes, in the past, the CFP Board has had the responsibility of minting new CFP professionals and maintaining the standards of the marks, whereas the FPA's responsibility was to nurture CFP professionals through continuing education NextGen, Advocacy, and the like. Both organizations have worked together for many years to establish financial planning as a profession and to bring credibility to the CFP marks. With that said, there seems to be a direct conflict now between the CFP Board Center for Financial Planning and the Financial Planning Association, the FPA, given that the vision statements of both are nearly identical. This leads me to believe that the CFP Board intends to directly compete with the FPA in an attempt to force them out of existence. Could you please respond with your intentions for the Center and how the future of FPA fits into this equation? Mike,
you bet.
Do you want to take that?
So first, Kara, thank you. You must have read the recent letter that came out under joint name or signature by Ed and Rich, based on the language in your question. I want to thank you for raising this issue because it gets at the core of things that I have heard over the years. And I want to assure you, and I mean this sincerely, I want to assure you that CFP Board values FPA and their very important role in the profession. I'm a member of FPA. I've been a member of FPA for many years and support the organization extremely, extremely strongly. We are not engaged in any schemes to put them out of business. That is not part of the agenda in any way. When CFP Board launched the News Center, we heard a number of questions just like yours. And we're happy to be able to send out that letter that I think that you referenced. And so for those who aren't aware of this letter, in the 2015 chairs, Ed Jertson and Rich Rochek, CFP Board Chair, they put out a statement. I'm going to read just a part of that statement. So there are some who question the roles for CFP Board and FPA and whether we are working at cross purposes or wasting valuable resources through duplicated efforts. To us, our respective roles are as follows. CFP Board's job is to, quote, mint planners, while FPA's job as the professional membership organization for CFP professionals is to, quote, nurture them. While the line between minting and nurturing is usually clear, there may be times when our initiatives overlap. Some overlap is not necessarily a bad thing, as long as we strive to ensure our efforts are complementary, because addressing the workforce development and diversity challenges facing the profession is bigger than any one organization. Our intention and commitment is to work together to leverage our strengths, maximize our resources, and reduce confusion. We simply cannot afford to do otherwise. We are invested in each other's success, and we have plans in place to assure that we work strategically to help one another and achieve mutual goals. So to close this out, CFP Board, the board itself, is in regular communication with FPA's National Board. We value that partnership. We don't want to encroach on each other's turf. It's incredibly important that we have powerful membership organization. It's incredibly important that we have a powerful standard-setting organization. Together, we'll build this profession. And as long as we stay in communication with each other, we'll remain complementary and not conflicting. Kara, thanks again for that question.
Mike, that's a really good summary and I think a very, very important point. And so thank you very much for the clarification. So let me hit one more question on a different topic, and then we'll wrap up. Winnie asks, are there plans to implement a stackable certificate to expand the pool of financial planning professionals? I'm aware that some other credentialing organizations offer an entry-level designation, but it's better for us to do so for continuity and quality control reasons. I'd love to be part of a strategic development and marketing team if that's something the board decides to pursue. Kevin?
Well, Winnie, first of all, thank you for your kind offer for assistance. But, you know, over the years, CFP Board has had occasional discussions about the idea of an entry-level designation that leads to CFP certification, and even about specialty designations that might take a deeper dive into some of the areas encompassed by CFP certification. Let me assure you, though, we do not have any plans to create additional designations.
That sounds very clear.
Unambiguous, even.
Exactly. So we're just about out of time now, so let's ask for some closing remarks. So, Mike, do you want to start us off with some closing thoughts?
Sure, Ed. So first, thank you for agreeing to come in here and be with us. And thank you to everyone who dialed in. I know we have a long queue of questions left, and Ed, we won't get to those obviously today, but we will respond to everyone who's in the queue. So my apologies that we didn't get to those. I'm absolutely honored to be the chair of the board of directors this year. It's an incredibly exciting time to be part of the board. It's incredibly exciting time to be part of the profession. You can tell that we've got some groundbreaking initiatives underway to address what we face as a profession. What I love is being part of an organization that is so centered on our strategy, that's willing to be forward-thinking and invest so that we can make progress on a number of different fronts. I want to thank every one of our volunteers who helps make that happen. I want to thank everyone who is a certificant who's out there serving clients today with competent and ethical advice. Without all of us together over the years, there's no way we would have made the progress we've made over the last several decades in this profession and helping CFP become the clear and recognized standard within the profession.
Blaine, your thoughts?
Well, I can't help but echo Mike's remarks that we really do have to thank the CFP professional community and all those who support it in so many ways. And Mike, I also have to echo your thoughts on the center because really it is an amazing endeavor and one that, as you said, we're also excited to be involved in. So I do want to maybe take these last few minutes to encourage everyone to consider how you can support the important work of the Center for Financial Planning. There is so much important work that needs to be done to build capacity for the profession and to build that academic home that you talked about, Mike, for the profession that advances the profession's body of knowledge. We really do all stand to benefit from those initiatives to strengthen the profession. And Ed, as you mentioned, you've been in the profession for a while. I actually just celebrated my 30th anniversary as a CFP professional. So we all have a lot invested in this profession, and the work we hope to achieve through the center can't be done through one organization or one firm alone. So if those who are listening would feel the incentive to donate to the work of the Center for Financial Planning, it would make a big difference, and it would help support important research, advocacy, education, and workforce development initiatives that really will advance the profession. So please take a look at the Center's website to learn more about it and consider how you can support it. It's just a hugely important initiative.
You know, Blaine, I'm going to just pop in there real quick, Kevin. The board itself, the members of the board, we're so committed that I think it's just important to remind the folks who are listening. Each of us individually has also made a commitment to the center financially. So not only are we dedicating time to it, but we've made a financial commitment. So these aren't just words from us. We really do believe in the center.
Well, I want to thank Ed for being here today. Thank you for the support of the center from Edelman. We want to thank our friends at TD for the support that they've provided as our lead founding partner. You know, the board has set out a very clear and important vision for CFP Board, and it's rewarding for me and the other 70 folks at CFP Board to be a part of executing on that vision. We have a lot of important initiatives underway, and I hope that everyone listening will stay connected with CFP Board. There are many ways that you can help, but we're just a phone call away. If you're interested in being a volunteer, you can access that opportunity on our website, cfpboard.net/volunteer. And again, thank you, Ed, for being here.
Absolutely. So thank you, Kevin Keller. Kevin is CFP Board CEO. Thanks to Mike Greene, 2016 Chair of the Board of Directors. Thanks to Blaine Aikin, 2016 Chair-Elect of the Board of Directors. And thanks to each of you for sharing this update of CFP Board's work on today's webinar. A recording of this presentation will be posted to the CFP Board's website within the next week, and the CFP Board will be following up on those who asked questions that we weren't able to address during the broadcast today. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us for CFP Board's Business Update webinar. I am Ed Moore, and I'm pleased to be the moderator for today's event. For those who don't know me, I'm the president of Edelman Financial Services, and just as a little background, I'm a CFP practitioner, and I was recently at a conference earlier this year, and wandering through the exhibit hall, I stumbled upon